In the previous video, we published the details of an API as a physical service. This way of publishing can serve two purposes. The first is to include APIs in the overall API catalog that are not managed through the Akana API gateway, but through some other gateway. The second is to make details of APIs that are not yet managed available. Such APIs or endpoints often serve as building blocks for the managed APIs that are published as API products eventually. Log into your Akana API portal. Ensure you have Add API permissions. In the top-level menu, click APIs. First, select All APIs to review available API building blocks. In this example, we will use the Customer Manager Physical Service as the API building block. Click Documentation to review details and the operations that are exposed on this physical endpoint. We'd like our API product to only expose the operation which returns the details for a given customer. Notice that this operation requires an ID parameter that indicates the selected customer. To create the API product, click APIs in the top-level menu. Select Add API. Give your API product a name. Next, click Advanced Options. Give your API product a version number. We are building the API product by using a physical service building block. We can give it its own decoupled interface by selecting the orchestration option in the pattern field. We'd like the API product to be visible to all registered users. For visibility, select Registered Users. To deploy the API product on the Akana API gateway, create an implementation. Open the drop-down box and select Sandbox. Select the API gateway cluster associated with this API portal. Click Save to save your initial API product. Edit the default API product operation by clicking the vertical ellipsis icon. Click the pencil icon to edit the operation's metadata. Adjust the path by giving it a suitable value. Also, include the ID path parameter. Give the operation a meaningful name. You can provide additional details that will help users to better identify and understand your API. For example, provide a meaningful summary and description. Click Finish to complete. The physical endpoint returns an XML response. To have your API return a JSON response rather than its native XML response, adjust the response content type. Select Application, JSON. Click Save to save your API product. As a final step, we need to complete the orchestrated call to the physical endpoint. Click Details in the left menu. Click the little triangular icon shown with the API's operation. Click Edit Sandbox Process. In the process editor that is now presented, adjust the default process. First, drag the reply icon a little to the right. Then, click the Invoke activity in the left menu and drag it into the process. Double-click the Invoke activity to open its configuration settings. In the Service Queue name field, enter a value to search for the customer physical service. Click Search. This will result in appropriate values being returned for the result fields below. Select the proper service from the list. Select the service's default interface. And, finally, select the operation that we want to invoke from the list. Click Finish to complete the invoke configuration. Adjust the process connectors. Connect the receive activity to the invoke activity. And connect the invoke activity to the reply activity. Click the save icon to save your process. And click Finish to leave the process editor. You can now test your API product and verify whether it is correctly calling the corresponding physical endpoint. From the left menu, click Test Client. Enter a valid parameter value. Click Invoke to execute the request. The call should return an HTTP 200 response and show a response object. In this video, we have shown you an example of how Akana allows you to create an API product from a physical service building block using process orchestration.